If you're a tall girly, I'm sure you've heard the idea that tall women are perceived as masculine. I mean, there's nothing new here. We all know that height equals masculinity in society's eyes or whatever, leading many people, whether people we know or complete strangers, to kind of act out on this idea by treating us aggressively or even misgendering us. I'm sure we all know the gist here. But there's kind of a flip side to this, where some tall girls also believe this idea. Basically, there are tall women who don't feel feminine or even have a hard time embracing their femininity. And a Reddit post on this led me down a huge rabbit hole about how and why some tall women feel this way. So if you are a tall girly who resonates with this, number one, you are not alone. And number two, I highly recommend tuning into this episode because we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of this. So without further ado, let's get into it. Good morning, everybody. You are currently listening to a Tall Girls podcast hosted by a tall girl named India. I hope everyone who's tuning in today is doing super fantastic. Before I get into this episode, I do want to say, make sure you're following me on my socials at a Tall Girls podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest so that you can stay up to date on all of the latest podcast episodes and catch a glimpse of my everyday life. Also, feel free to leave me a review and let me know how tall you are. I'm genuinely curious. I also have a monthly newsletter. Make sure you subscribe to that. Everything is going to be linked in the description. Oh my gosh, I literally recorded this intro, or that intro that you just heard, or I literally recorded the first few minutes of this episode like several times, probably 2 or 3 times. Why? You could probably tell listening to this episode, but I don't know what's going on with my voice. I am just getting over a sickness. I'm just getting over being sick. Okay, I literally have no other symptoms, no fever, no chills, no coughing, whatever. So I should be fine in theory, but then all of a sudden I started losing my voice. Like yesterday I was kind of starting to sound a little bit hoarse, and I was like, oh, maybe some sleep will do me some good. And then I woke up today and here we are, not sounding 100%, and I'm like, if this gets worse, I'm gonna cry. So I kind of don't want to take the chance and wait till tomorrow, because I get a feeling that it's probably going to be worse than how it is now. So I apologize in advance for sounding a little bit hoarse or a little bit different, but at least I can still talk and get through this episode. We'll see. We're going to feel it out. We're going to see how we can get through this. Anyways, as you probably could tell from the intro, today we're going to be talking about how some tall women have a hard time embracing their femininity. We all know that there are people out there who don't view tall women as feminine, but there's also kind of a flip side where there are tall women who don't feel or view themselves as feminine. Have you as a tall girly ever felt this way? I did ask you guys in a poll over on Instagram, and I'm going to do a quick little plug here. Make sure you follow me at a Tall Girls podcast so you can participate in these polls and have your opinions heard on these episodes. But I did ask you guys in a poll, tall girlies, was there ever a time where you didn't feel or view yourself as feminine? 78% of you guys said yes, and 22% said no. So that really just goes to show that, yeah, not only do some people view tall women as masculine or just straight up just don't view them as feminine, but even some of the tall girlies themselves don't view them as feminine. So I find that very interesting. But we're going to get more into the nitty-gritty of this later on in this episode. And the reasoning behind how people perceive tall women and how we perceive ourselves are wildly different. Well, yes and no. Many people see us as masculine because of our size, right? And it's interesting, well, less interesting and more ridiculous, how masculinity and femininity are tied to size. Like tall equals masculine and short equals feminine. Thicker is also associated with masculinity while thinner with femininity. And maybe that's why, and I could be wrong, tall plus size women are most likely to be misgendered. Alright, I'm getting off track here, but other people tie it to our size, this perceived masculinity. Yes, we ourselves tie it to our size, but we also tie it to our lived experiences, like what people say and other factors that we're going to get into a little bit later. But I didn't get to that second part, that part where we don't perceive ourselves as feminine, or maybe we don't feel feminine because of our lived experiences. I didn't really get to that part until I came across this particular Reddit post. And it's funny because this Reddit post was actually meant for another episode, but it spoke about a couple different topics. And one of the topics that was in that post kind of applies here to this episode. And it basically said, the annoying thing is that it was hard for me to embrace my femininity while being tall. Not because I felt tall, but because everyone told me so and because it was hard to find clothes and shoes. I learned at a young age that I didn't fit into the average norm. Now I'm really happy with my height, but it wasn't easy to get there. And so forth and so on. And by the way, the tall girly who wrote this post is 6 feet tall. But this not only shows that the reason why tall women feel less feminine is less about size, and it goes much deeper than that, but it also highlights a really common experience that many tall women face, which is how society's expectations and other external factors affect how we see ourselves. Now, these external factors vary, and one of them, which was stated a little bit earlier, is clothing. I honestly do think that clothing is a big one, a big reason why many tall women may not feel feminine, because clothing is a great form of self-expression and self-identity. It plays a role in helping women feel feminine if that's how they want to feel, if that's what they choose. However, mainstream women's clothing is made for smaller frames, made with smaller frames in mind. So we're pretty limited in our options already, especially with the conventional articles of clothing that people deem to be feminine, like the skirts and the dresses. It's like we already have a hard time with that because a lot of them are either short on us or just don't fit us properly or the way that it should. In a Reddit titled, Tall Women, What Does Not Feeling Feminine Mean? One person commented in the thread saying that basically in her shopping experiences, she'd be told, oh, we don't have that size, maybe check in the men's section in shoe shopping, and she'd have trouble finding women's jeans or trousers or rompers. Yes, especially rompers. Those are always a struggle to come by as a tall girly. She'd have trouble finding rompers as well with cute feminine designs, print, or details. She'd basically have trouble finding those items that are long enough for her. So it's pretty apparent that it can be a struggle for tall women to dress feminine. Let's listen to this clip really quickly.
What I find so interesting about being a woman over 6 feet tall is that there is such a process with making sure that you're dressed the way that you actually like, especially if you prefer to dress feminine. I know that I can get a lot of jeans, a lot of shirts, a lot of blazers that fit me comfortably, and I do like that aesthetic and I do like that style, but sometimes I just want to dress feminine. I want to dress feminine, I want to feel feminine, I want to put on cute little outfits and a crop top, but it's such a process to making sure things fit me the way I want it to fit me. Case in point, these jeans, I got them from Buckle. They are a 31 around the waist, 37 inseam or 38 inseam. They go all the way down. They're very long. Probably a little bit too long because they're getting a little scraped up at the bottom. But I don't care. I want the rise to be low rise. So I fold these to like right here. So the frustration I have is like, okay, after spending $100 on jeans, I'm going to have to spend another, I don't know, $40, $60. I don't know how much it costs to get the rise altered to make them lower. And it's just such a process. It's such a process. I also have been looking for like a shirt just like this, long sleeve, but I want it in the color turquoise and I cannot find it. If you know where I can find a shirt like this in the color turquoise, comment it below, because like just finding clothes is hard in general, but finding clothes as a tall woman that wants to dress a certain way, it's just so difficult because people who make clothes act like tall women don't exist. And I just want to say, we exist.
Additionally, a lot of tall women wear men's clothes. Remember when tall women had to collectively shop in the men's section just to find clothes that fit? Do we still shop in the men's section? Or did we find better options? Because I don't think that shopping in the men's section solves all of our clothing problems. I mean, what girly pop clothes are you finding in that section? So clothes is definitely a big one, and the media too. The media and different things within that realm play a big role in how we perceive ourselves. There was actually an example in the same Reddit post from before, the one asking what does it mean to not feel feminine. This one tall girl wrote in the comments, in romance novels, it's mentioned every time they kiss that she's going up on her tiptoes to meet him. I never had to do that. She puts his shirt on and it goes down to her knees. Yeah, I'm lucky if it goes to my butt. I literally felt that, honestly, but It's like the same thing with novels. When they're being very descriptive, they're not like, oh yeah, like she's like 5'2" and he's like 6'1" or whatever. Like they're not outright saying that. They're trying to paint a picture, just like how in the example she said, when they kiss, she goes on her tiptoes. When she puts his shirt on, it goes down to his knees. It's little things like that that's kind of like, oh, like as a tall girl, it's like, oh, like that has literally never happened to me. If we're putting on a man's sweatshirt, it fits perfectly. The only time we're on our tippy toes if we're kissing someone is if that person is like 7 feet tall, literally. And even like an example, like the Tall Girl movie, where the tall girl, like, let's say her room and how she dressed and stuff like that, that didn't come off as like this super feminine, hyper feminine type of girly pop stuff, you know what I mean? But the sister, Sabrina Carpenter, her room was ultra feminine. The way she dressed was ultra feminine. Everything about her was ultra feminine. It's just how the authors of novels, it's how the producers or directors or whatever dress the characters and make the characters appear on screen. It's how that's done. That when we see that, it's ultimately kind of like, okay, do we relate to this or not? And for the most part, when it comes to the traditionally feminine roles, we don't relate to a lot of the things that they go through, a lot of the things that they do, even how they dress and so forth. So it's kind of like when we put two and two together, it's like, okay, that's feminine. I literally have never done that or barely ever do that. So am I feminine? You see what I'm trying to say here? So it's like we don't really associate ourselves with the smaller, daintier feminine traits. And if we're going back to the part where especially like, you know, within a lot of movies, the masculine partner tends to be the taller one and the feminine partner tends to be the shorter one. That kind of also rolls over into the dating world, where it's like if we're talking about a heterosexual relationship, it's kind of, I mean, we're getting better nowadays, I will say that, but it's still in a way kind of expected that the man is supposed to be the taller one in the relationship and the woman is supposed to be the shorter one. And then we kind of perpetuate that idea when we hear stories of some men saying that taller women demasculate. I don't know what the term is, y'all. You know what I mean. And please correct me in the comments. Send me a DM of the correct term because I don't know what I'm saying right now. But they feel less masculine around a woman who's taller than them. Well, more so in the dating aspect of things, I will say. Okay, I'm just going to play a clip that's going to explain what I'm trying to say a little bit better.
I just saw a video of a guy telling a woman why most men don't like taller women. He got straight to the point. So he said basically it's because taller women make men feel demasculated. I'm 5'8", so that means I'm above average for the height of a woman. Now, a lot of people will argue and say, oh, that's not tall. It's above average. I'm usually the tallest woman in the room where I'm from. Men feeling emasculated or demasculated, I think that's the word I believe there's some truth to it. Because I know men right now that's like 5'5", 5'6", and the first thing they yell out is when they see a taller woman, oh, that's a man. That's the number one insult I've gotten my whole life. That gotta be a man. That's a man. Oh, that's a trans. And I've gotten it from men and women. And it used to hurt my feelings, but now that I'm older, I do know that most short dudes want to be tall. When a man is not operating in his masculinity or he feel insecure about something, of course they're going to hurl those insults to a woman to make her feel like, no, you just too damn big.
So those are the main things: clothing, the media, even dating experiences and other lived experiences that tend to make us feel less feminine. And when tall women don't feel feminine, I feel like it goes one of two ways. Either we get super insecure and try to hide or shrink ourselves, or we overcompensate by hyperfeminizing ourselves. So trying to talk in a higher pitched voice, or wearing certain clothes that we wouldn't usually wear, etc. Now, what are we going to do about this? Because we're not going to just sit around and cry about it. Or we could. Crying is very healthy. Crying is a good thing to do. Make sure you cry. Never hold it in. But after we're done crying, what will we do about it? So I want to open up the floor. Tall girls, what are some ways that tall women can feel feminine? What are some examples of what you do to feel feminine? Overall, I think that the biggest thing is a mindset shift. And a tall creator explained this really well. I'm going to play that video here.
I was 12 years old. I was 6 feet tall, and I was in love, totally smitten with this guy named Dražen in my school. But he never even batted an eye on me because tall girls were not attractive and were not cute. I have always tried to fit in. It wasn't until I was 15 and 6'2" tall at the time that one of my friends actually took a picture of me standing with other friends, and I was standing there like this, like a little shriveled shrimp with my friends trying to fit in. The moment I saw this photo, I was like, hell no. And from that moment, I started entering the room with my shoulders back and my head held high. As much as it felt uncomfortable, I was trying to kind of walk as if I am deserving of the space. And what happened was really surprising. People started treating me like I am the most feminine person ever, even though realistically, I'm a solid 7 physically. What that made me realize is that my femininity is not conditioned upon how other people perceive me. My femininity, my coquetry, my sexiness is totally dependent on my mindset shift and how I perceive myself. Go get him.
Listen, okay, tall women can be feminine, okay? We can be a tall girly and still be a girly pop. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous and annoying and quite frankly outdated that there are people out there who still associate traits and masculinity and femininity with size, and they try to project all of that onto us. When in reality, we should just be able to be whoever and whatever we want to be. Okay. And I know that it's going to take work. It takes time. It takes a lot of patience and so forth. But I firmly believe that if you're struggling with this, you can get there and you can get to a place where you're absolutely in love with your height and you feel however you want to feel, whether you want to feel feminine or you want to feel masculine. And the tall girlies are here. We're like this. For the audio listeners, I'm crossing my fingers because the tall girlies are locked in with each other, okay? We're here for each other. So leave a comment, send a DM, any questions, anything you want to say. Let's chat about this topic. I'm going to end the episode here. I really need to give my voice a break. Okay, I was giving it a break. Okay, I was resting for like 5 to 10 minutes in between clips. I have been doing this for like a good 3 hours now, but we made it and we made it work. And I'm happy. And I think I'm ready to retire my voice for the night. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you. Of course, as always, feel free to hit me up on my socials and let me know what you thought about this episode. This episode was really just like a response to a Reddit post of a tall girly saying that she doesn't feel feminine and kind of exploring why some tall women don't feel that way. And basically, in summary, just saying that many people don't view tall women as feminine because of our size, but we may not feel feminine, not necessarily because of size, but so many of our lived experiences and so many things that are portrayed out there on the media and so forth, all of those collectively can lead us to not feel feminine. So I want to hear your thoughts on that point. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have any other thoughts on that? Do you have experience not feeling feminine and then eventually feeling feminine over time? Or have you always felt feminine, or you just never feel feminine at all? Do you even want to feel feminine? Like, let's talk about it. Let's have a chat about it. And yeah, until then, I will catch you all in the next one. Good night and goodbye.